Is Y Combinator really worth it? Is it worth giving up 7% of your company for? Is it overhyped, or is it the key to startup success? Hey, my name is Arjun. I'm the CEO of Doula.com. Doula is a business in a box, and we are a venture-backed tech startup here in New York City that has successfully raised over $13 million of venture capital from some of the world's best investors, including Y Combinator, Nexus Venture Partners, HubSpot Ventures, and notable angel investors like Cody Sanchez, Graham Stephan, Sahil Bloom, Dharmesh Shah, and more. And I promise you by the end of this video, I'm gonna give you my candid thoughts on if Y Combinator is worth it. And the way I'll cover this is I'll first start off with what is Y Combinator, a little bit of background and share my YC experience. I'll then go through the pros and cons, because there's always pros and cons. Then I'll give you my final verdict. Is YC worth it? I'll tell you the answer now. It depends. You were probably expecting that. Final thing is, as a bonus, I want to give you 3 tips on how to get into YC. These are things I wish I had done. First thing is, what is Y Combinator? Y Combinator, started back in 2005, is an accelerator. And they actually changed the investing model in a crazy way, where from this 10-minute interview, they would actually invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into your startup with a very standard application and process. Today, they invest $500,000 for 7% of your company. Now, some of the largest companies in the world are YC alumni, companies like Stripe or Dropbox or Airbnb. Now, let me share my YC experience very quickly. The first thing is, the first time I applied, didn't get in. Second time I applied, didn't get in. The third time I applied, finally got in, and YC has an acceptance rate lower than any of the Ivy League schools. It's hard to get in. But the third company, actually, we had to shut it down because it wasn't working. So we deferred demo day, and then for the fourth company, which is Doula, it finally worked. The arrow is pointing in a much better direction. So I went through YC, and I now want to share the pros and cons that I've learned about YC. This is from my experience and also talking to other YC founders. First pro is access to an elite network. You are the average of the people around you, and in YC, there are insane founders and talent teams. You level yourself up. I think your ambition just goes up tenfold being around other people like that. The next is the YC brand. Look, the truth is, in society, brand matters. And having YC as one of your investors on your cap table helps you raise more money. It's as simple as that. The YC halo effect is real. The third is you actually get advice from other unicorn founders. So Brian Chesky from Airbnb or Drew Houston from Dropbox would actually come back and give talks. That's priceless. You're actually learning from people who've done it, and you don't get access to that in other places. The next is you get batch accountability, meaning in your batch with other companies, every week you have demo days, and from that you have consistency, you have accountability, and you're building towards your goal. YC also gives you tactical advice and playbooks. There's Bookface. Every single week they have special speakers coming in. And then the last thing is you have a massive fundraising advantage, because the whole point of YC is you go through this process, this batch, for 3 months or 12 weeks, and at the end it culminates in demo day. And at demo day, YC is literally bringing together investors and pointing them towards your company. So it helps you with fundraising, it helps you with getting extra capital. Now, let me share the biggest cons of YC. The first, let's call this out right away, is YC gets 7% of your company. That's a lot. And there's a big question here of, hey, is it worth it? So I'll actually cover that in the final verdict section, but that's a big con. You're giving away that equity. Once you give away the equity, you can never get it back. The second is YC doesn't guarantee success. Not all YC startups will succeed. If it was that magical where you could apply to YC and get in and it guarantees success, you should absolutely do it. But I saw this with my own experience. The third time I applied to YC, the startup didn't work. So YC was wrong. So again, if you think YC is this silver bullet or the holy grail that will make and guarantee success, that's not true. The next one is fundraising is not product market fit. This is kind of a continuation, but again, YC does not make customers need your product. You need to actually make something people need. The next one is, look, the program can be intense. It's 12 weeks. You're working with some of the most elite founders and talent in the world. Some people might burn out from that. They might not like that environment. And the last is, it might not be good for every different type of company. So let's say you're a VC-backed company, you're a high-growth startup, you need capital to invest quickly, versus if you're a bootstrapped company or a lifestyle business. There can be differences there. So the final verdict I would give is, my answer is it depends, and it actually depends on what I was just saying around, it depends what type of business you are. If you are a venture-backed company or want to be that type of company that needs to take in a lot of capital so you can invest quickly in hiring, maybe it's in manufacturing, a physical good, or there's maybe this winner-take-all effect where the faster you can grow with more money, it's actually worth giving up the equity. then YC can be worth it. You could also have this advantage where maybe you want to distribute through the YC batch. Maybe you're selling to other startups. And in that case, that initial kindling or bootstrapping can be big. But let's say you're actually bootstrapping, meaning you're not raising venture. Typically, the type of company that will have the most success doing that is more of a lifestyle business. Now look, a lifestyle business isn't a bad thing. It kind of has a knock. Let's say you have a design agency and every month you have one client who pays you $5,000. 5 times 5,000 is $25K per month. Over the course of a year, that's $300,000. That's a ton of money. That's a very meaningful income. You don't need to raise any venture for that. You don't need to give away any equity because every month you take on 5 clients and that's it. You're not looking to pour venture capital into making hires for partnerships or pouring it into ad spend or accelerating product development. You don't need that. You just have 5 customers every month and you should keep it small and own it all. So that's my recommendation, is if you think having the capital can help you accelerate hiring talent, or truly there's more of a winner take all effect, or your vision is to build something bigger which requires more of the capital and you need to hire talent before you have the revenue, or you need to invest in marketing or something before you actually have the revenue, then YC can be a good choice. But if you are just trying to build a business, you want to own the entire thing, and there's not really a reason to pour revenue into the business or pour capital into the business, then that's where I would say not raising capital from YC would be better. And there's also many ways to raise capital outside of YC. There's funds, there's loans, you can use your network. Ultimately though, what I would say is I think YC has way more pros than cons. If I was doing things again, I would absolutely do YC, because the way I view it is that success is kind of binary. You either do it or you don't. And if I have to give away 7% of something to increase the chances I can get to the next level, at the end of the day, I'd rather own 93% of something than 100% of nothing. These are 3 tips on how to increase your chances of getting into Y Combinator. Tip number 1 is apply multiple times. There's a stat that in any batch, over 50% of companies that got into YC applied in the past. So if you're not applying multiple times, you're shooting yourself in the foot. That leads to the second point, which is show progress and ideally show revenue. So each time you apply, let's say the first time you apply, you have no revenue. But the next time you apply, you have 100,000 in revenue. And you don't get in, but the third time you apply, you have $500,000. YC is going to say, whoa, maybe we were wrong, but 2, they've demonstrated progress. So by showing that progress, you're actually showing YC, whoa, this is a team that can move fast. But the bigger thing is showing revenue or users takes something from a napkin idea to, wait a second, there's people paying for this thing. It's the ultimate sign of product market fit. So that's the second piece of advice to getting in, is have some traction. That actually will, by an order of magnitude, increase the likelihood of you getting in. And the third thing that can help is a founder recommendation. Now, let me just be clear here. I get asked by many people, if they hear, hey, you're in YC, can you recommend me or can you refer me to YC? And YC has a way to refer founders. But the truth is, you can decide in that recommendation, how well do you know the person? Why are you referring them? How strong is your recommendation? So in life, if you just think about your experience, when have you really recommended something in such a strong way? You must have loved the thing. It must have had a huge impact, or you've had a big experience with the thing, whether that's recommending a friend for a job or there's a product you like. So the same thing applies here, where if you're going to ask someone for a recommendation, the best thing you can do is build a relationship with that person and show over time you're making progress. So for a YC application, let me give you an example. Let's say there's someone and we follow each other on social, on Twitter, and every day I see this person putting out new ideas for their landing pages, testing ideas, and then 3 years later, even if we've never met, but we build up a relationship online and they say, hey, I'm applying to YC, could you refer me? I'm going to be way more likely to give a strong recommendation than someone who just out of the blue says, hey, can you please refer me? So my advice there is, as much as possible, this applies to so many things in life, fill the cup before you take a drink. Over time, if you just keep adding a tablespoon of water to that cup, eventually you'll have a gallon, it's over pouring, and you're just building up that goodwill. So and the 3 tips to get in, I would say, are 1, apply multiple times, 2, show traction, and 3, getting a founder recommendation can help, but it's got to be the right type of recommendation. And because I want to give one extra bonus here, a lot of people ask, should I do a mock interview? I think 1 can help just to get comfortable saying answers about your business. Here's the biggest piece of interview advice I would give. The first question they're going to ask is, what does your business do? That's the question you can nail. You can prepare for it. And it's very important that in that first answer, you clearly explain what your business does. So I'll use Uber as an example. You wouldn't say Uber revolutionizes ride sharing. What does that mean? Is it flying cars? Is it no cars and you're using a bike. Instead, you would say, Uber is a mobile app. You open it, you click a button, it connects you to a driver, you get in the car, and when you're done with the ride, it automatically handles payment. You explain what it does, not this meta concept of jargon of revolutionizing. So my advice, the biggest advice for preparing is in that first question, what does your business do? Pick someone who's going to answer it and nail that response. Because if someone doesn't understand your business, then the next 9 minutes of the interview, they'll be thinking, what is this thing? The second piece of advice is the interview will fly by. So pick the 3 things that you say, I am not leaving this interview without saying. And no matter what, when you leave, you are going to give answers to those. Even if they ask a completely different question, I'll give an example. How do you acquire customers? We acquire customers by using partnerships. We give people a commission. Let's say one of my 3 things was I wanted to share the teams work together for 4 years. I would weave it in. I would say we acquire customers through partnerships, and that's my co-founder's strength. He's been working at this place for 4 years with experience in affiliate partnerships, and we worked to school for 6 years together. It wasn't even asked in the question, but I found a way to weave it in. So that would be my advice. Again, to summarize the 4 pieces of advice: apply multiple times, show traction, a founder recommendation, and 4, prepare for the interview. Don't do it too much, you'll sound robotic, but nail the opener and nail the 3 things that you want to walk away with in the interview that you're going to say no matter what. If you have traction, that's probably the best. You can talk about the product and then you can talk about the team. That's a wrap. In summary, why Combinator has really changed the game, but there's definitely pros and cons, mostly around, is it worth giving away 7%? Can you get value from YC? And my verdict would be, it ultimately depends on the type of business. Lastly, if you truly made it through this video to this point and you would like feedback on your YC application, or you'd like me to refer you, but again, the guidance I would give is if we get to know each other, it would definitely help everyone. Feel free to drop a comment below, or you can shoot me an email at arjun@doula.com. Thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll be releasing more content just like this, where I'll be giving you an unfiltered behind the scenes look of what my life is like building and scaling Doula here in New York City, including the challenges the team faces on a daily basis, how we acquire customers, how we've raised funding, my favorite growth hacks, my morning routine, and more. So please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be putting out content on the regular. And speaking of entrepreneurs, if you yourself are a founder looking to either start a new business or scale an existing business, Doula is your business in a box solution. We've helped over 10,000 entrepreneurs from over 175 countries focus on what they do best, so Doula can handle the rest. The unsexy yet critical back office required for any business. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.